The other day, I saw Randy's Pitchford's tweet polling people on their opinion on a Borderlands MMO live service game. In the tweet, he says, "Assuming such a thing is separate from and in no way imposes on a numbered sequel campaign-style Borderlands game, would you be interested in a Borderlands MMO / truly live service kind of game?" With poll opinions that basically boil down to yes, maybe, or no. Interestingly enough, out of the 16k votes, it's pretty much an even split between the three options. When I first saw the tweet, my initial thought was no, because I think live service games nowadays seem to be doing more harm than good, most notably Overwatch 2, Suicide Squad, Anthem, and Avengers did or are doing worse than they expected. But then I quickly thought about how would a looter shooter like Borderlands be converted into an MMO? Oh wait, that's Destiny. I literally just played the Final Shape expansion this past week and it was amazing. Destiny is not a perfect game, nor is it a true MMO game, but it does have MMO-like features that are worth applying some of those concepts into an MMO Borderlands. So the real question is, can Borderlands MMO work? I think it can, but there are things that I think Gearbox needs to focus on if they want to try to make this a success. The main aspect I think in MMO games is the looting and gear, the want to get more. That includes farming, grinding, and gear leveling. All that is already present in the base game of, let's say, Borderlands 3. This isn't like turning a platforming Mario game into an MMO and create a bunch of new features from scratch, because most of these systems are already in the base game. It may need some refinement, but for the most part, it can stay the same. Cooperative and competitive play exists in the base game, already making the transition even easier. There's an absurd amount of guns, clear differentiation of classes, many outfits, unique bosses, challenging content, and decent story, and other things that are already in the base game. There are other things to be worried about in a switch to an MMO, but simply put, most of the systems and functions are already in place in the base game needed for an MMO. Yes, there needs to be like tweaks in auxiliary systems such as like gear scaling, enemy scaling, and like open world systems, but I think all the pieces are there to make an exciting MMO or MMO-light game from this franchise. I do not think an MMO Borderlands should be a free-to-play game. Making it into something you have to pay into the service, similar to Helldivers 2, would be ideal. MMO Borderlands is going to rely on adding new seasons / expansions like they have been doing for Borderlands 1, 2, and 3. So chances are, those are going to be paid expansions as well. By making the initial play and be paywalled, prevents people who are like free to play only to not come in with the expectations of it being fair and everything being catered to them. I'd imagine that MMO Borderlands doesn't need to have like a high amount of active players compared to other live service games like Fortnite or Apex Legends to function. Helldivers 2 is doing just fine as a live service game when that game also has like a $40 initial buy-in. Microtransactions should only be limited to cosmetics and expansions. There's going to be a pay to win realistically, because they're going to have good gear locked behind those expansions, but you have to play and earn those cool looking gear, so it still feels like an achievement you had to earn. But if you have things where you just go to a store, straight up pay $20 for an assault rifle that shoots rocket launcher guns, that shoots its own homing shotgun shells to enemies that split off into pistol sentry guns, then we're gonna have a problem. And this is just with like any sort of game. No one wants to see an easy way to gain power or gear just by opening your wallet. It's just unhealthy for the game long term because they won't stop there. They'll need to power creep their own power corrupt weapons that will require more and more money and so on. So at the end of the day, microtransactions should not be a source of instant power or gear. I'll admit, I have not truly grinded a proper MMO game. I'm 21 right now, so I think I was just too young to experience the MMO golden age. And honestly, there's no new modern MMO game that seems appealing to me. So I'm just looking at this from the outside looking in, and I could be completely wrong about everything I say here, so I apologize in advance. I think the gear in some MMOs and MMO lights that I pay attention to is very misleading. The rarity in weapons in most games go from common, uncommon, rare, legendary. I think that drop rates should be similar to a pyramid, with the common gear at the bottom, meaning that you will find these commonly, hence the name, and legendaries are absurdly rare. But it seems like nowadays, legendary gear are the most common piece of gear that drop, and thus no one really gets excited over a legendary drop because it is expected rather than a surprise. I think that's what ruins gear drops. Everyone's mind is wired into it has to be a legendary gear or bust. So to keep like that excitement of getting a new gun, they need to make legendary drops feel legendary. And if that means making sure common gear are viable and not be instant sell for cash, in order for people to be okay with using common gear, then I think that's the route that they should take. Not only should they make a new class or two, but they should bring back and make all classes in Borderlands history to be available from the start. Yes, even from all the way back from Borderlands 1. I know there are some repeats, but they can be boiled down into subclasses. For example, the different playstyles in Sirens from different games can be split into different subclasses, but all classes should be made available from the start in character creation, such as Hunter, Soldier, Siren, Berserker, Gunzerker, Commando, Assassin, Necromancer, Psycho, Gladiator, Enforcer, Lawbringer, Beastmaster, Gunner, and Operative. Not only that, there should be an option to multi-class, similar to Tiny Tina Wonderlands. Having all these available from the start gives a good starting point for any player that, no matter what previous Borderlands game they left off on, they'll be able to come in with some familiarity and enjoy their class right from the start. And this encourages different playstyles and even creating more characters to try out the other classes. Look, I'm a solo player. I like to do things solo before I do a group activity if I can, but in order to differentiate this MMO from other numbered Borderlands games, it only makes sense for it to be online only and you have to play with other people. If people want a solo experience, there's other Borderlands games they can play solo. So the devs should not be afraid to make content based on having multiple people in a single room. The real question is how many players are too many players in a room. I think they should follow Destiny's example in social areas and explore the overworld. You can see up to like 20 other Vault Hunters, but once you go into an activity, like a main quest dungeon raid, it'll be a private instance for the players in the party. That way, you can scale enemies in the overworld based on like 10, 20 players, and missions can be scaled based on like 6 players. This is not going to be Borderlands 4, so the lore doesn't need to fit itself within the timeline. So there's no reason to not bring back all the bosses, villains, and characters in the franchise into this. There are so many assets they could reuse and repurpose them into a new, exciting, unique story. I know people think Borderlands 2 story clears Borderlands 3 story, but I personally don't think Borderlands 3 was terrible. Yes, it wasn't as good as Borderlands 2, but it still got a couple of laughs out of me. So I have no doubt that whatever capacity or direction they take with the story in the MMO version, that it will be a lot more enjoyable and funny than other MMOs in the market. And I know people don't want to be led by nostalgia and want something original, but like I said before, this isn't a numbered Borderlands game, therefore they can have some fun with this one. If that means bringing Roland back to life and beating Handsome Jack for the laughs, then I'm all for it. There also needs to be more varied and challenging endgame activities. Once you hit the max level, the main thing is to like increase your mayhem level, which significantly makes the enemies everywhere harder with each level. Just going off by Reddit, this is what it currently is in Borderlands 3. Not sure if they're gonna like bring this like system into like the MMO Borderlands, but this is fine for a single player game, but not so much for an MMO. This will get chewed and spat out within a week. There needs to be more from the start, and with each new season / expansion, they just need to keep adding more. Terrible example, but Star Rail does a good job at this. It's a live service single player game, but with each new update, they always add content into the endgame that's fresh and challenging. It may not always resonate with every player, but there are new activities often enough where I just hold my tongue and just wait for the next one. And for any new players that just enter the endgame, there's like a plethora of activities to do. I think the MMO Borderlands would have a great staying power in the market if they're able to just do that with their endgame activities. And on a side note, if this game actually does become an MMO, I hope they have a plan for when the game is done being a live service and can easily be converted into some sort of a single player experience. Similar to how Wayfinder's converting their MMO into a single player experience, I hope this MMO Borderlands has a failsafe in case something unfortunate happens or when they just decide to move away and stop providing support. It's a shame that some live service games just end and there's really no way to experience them in any shape or form. Just like with Gearbox's other live service game Battleborn, just for the preservation of the game, there should be a way to play this game 20 years from now, way past after it's received its last update. It's one of the main flaws in all live service games these days. Once it's over, and we as consumers hate that. This is all just hypothetical, and Randy Pitchford could have just been farming for impressions to get his monthly Twitter money, but it is interesting to see that they are considering a Borderlands MMO to begin with. I think it can be successful if they really fine-tune certain systems to make an MMO an MMO. And that starts with the pricing, microtransactions, the gear and progression, the amount of content at launch, and ultimately the endgame. I think there's no doubt that the actual gameplay will be fun. It could have the worst story in the Borderlands franchise, and I think that there is also no doubt that the story will be a lot better and more enjoyable than other MMO or MMO lights in the market. There's just a lot of givens that this franchise has proved that certain expectations will be hit. The real question is that if they do decide to make an MMO or MMO light game, that it will function differently enough from its single player counterpart, but still utilize the MMO aspects to enhance the overall experience of the game. Because honestly, there's a lot of potential in this, and you really only have one chance to make this right. So I hope that they do take their time in making this the best MMO Borderlands they could possibly make. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to this video if you like this type of content, and if you have any suggestions for any game that you want me to play, you can leave a comment down below or come join the Discord and link below that I'm active in. See you guys later.